You look around and you see people succeeding because of who they know. They have safety nets, wealthy parents who write checks when things get hard, supportive partners who carry the emotional load while they focus on building, deep networks of connected friends who open doors with a single phone call. Meanwhile, you are staring at a wall, building your life from absolute zero, completely alone. No investor, no mentor, no family money, no one standing behind you saying, "I believe in you, keep going," and it burns you alive. Not because you want pity, but because the game feels rigged, because you are playing the same sport on the same field, but they started on third base and called it a home run, while you are clawing your way out of the dirt with your bare hands. And no one even acknowledges you exist. They programmed you to believe that isolation is a disadvantage. Every motivational speaker, every business guru, every self-help article you have ever consumed hammered the same lie into your skull. Your network is your net worth. Find a mentor, build a team. You cannot do it alone. They taught you this, not because it is true, but because the system requires you to be dependent on others so they can easily pull your strings. A man who needs no one is a man who cannot be controlled. And the system, your social circle, your workplace, the entire architecture of modern society is terrified of a man it cannot control. If you are fighting a war with zero backup, if you are building something from nothing, while the world tells you it is impossible without connections, do not click away. Do not shrink. Do not let that resentment curdle into self-pity. Your isolation is not a tragedy. It is the ultimate tactical superiority. And today, we are opening Machiavelli's playbook on the law of power to show you, with surgical dark psychology precision, why having absolutely zero support is your most dangerous, unfair advantage. The advantage they will never have. The advantage that makes you, and only you, completely and permanently untouchable. That line was written 5 centuries ago, and it still cuts through every lie you have ever been told about success. Machiavelli did not write it for princes who inherited kingdoms. He wrote it for men who had to forge kingdoms from raw will and nothing else. He wrote it for you. Because what you are living right now, this zero support, this terrifying aloneness, this war with no reinforcements is not a curse. It is the exact crucible that produces the only kind of power that can never be revoked. Power built on nothing but your own capacity. Power that owes no debt. Power with no strings. Power that belongs entirely, irrevocably, exclusively to you. Here is what dark psychology reveals about the architecture of dependence that no one in your life wants you to understand. Every support system comes with an invoice. Every safety net has strings. Every hand that reaches down to help you up retains the right to push you back down the moment you stop being useful or grateful or obedient. The people who built their empires with help did not build empires. They built rental properties on borrowed land. And the landlord always collects. What if the support system you are crying over not having is actually the exact mechanism that keeps average men enslaved to mediocrity? What if the network you envy is the very cage that prevents the people inside it from ever discovering what they are actually capable of alone? What if your zero support is not your handicap, but your liberation? That is the forbidden question this video will answer. Not with comfort, not with reassurance, but with the most ruthless, strategically devastating framework for turning total isolation into absolute, unchallengeable Machiavellian power. By the end of this, you will not want a support system. You will understand, with ice-cold clarity, why having one would have been the worst thing that ever happened to you. If these ideas resonate with you, hit that subscribe button for more top-tier content. Also, drop a "need no one" in the comments so I know you're ready. Let's dive in. The first truth you must absorb, and it will feel like swallowing glass, is that every support system you have ever envied is a system of control disguised as love. Think about the people you watch succeeding with their networks and safety nets. Think about the man whose parents funded his business. He did not receive a gift, he received a leash. Every holiday dinner is a performance review. Every family gathering is a board meeting where his autonomy is up for vote. He cannot pivot his business without their approval. He cannot take a risk they deem unwise. He cannot fail because his failure is their investment, and they will never let him forget the cost of their generosity. That man does not own a company. His parents own a company, and they let him sit in the chair. Every favor you accept is a shackle you willingly place around your own neck. Think about the person with the supportive partner who carries the emotional weight. That person has outsourced their psychological resilience to another human being. Their confidence is not their own. It is borrowed. It is rented. And the moment that partner leaves, that person does not just lose a relationship. They lose their entire operating system. They collapse. Because they never learned to stand without a crutch. And a crutch, no matter how comfortable, is an admission that you cannot walk. Now think about the networked individual, the one with a phone full of contacts and a calendar full of lunches. Every connection is a transaction. Every relationship is a negotiation. Every favor extended is a favor owed. This person does not have freedom. They have a web of mutual obligation so intricate, so suffocating, that they cannot make a single significant decision without calculating its impact on 20 different relationships. Their network is not their net worth. Their network is their net prison. Machiavellian tactics reveal a truth about power that the self-help industry has deliberately buried. The strongest position is not the most connected position. The strongest position is the most independent position. Because the man who depends on no one cannot be threatened with withdrawal. The man who owes no favors cannot be called upon to compromise his vision. The man who built everything alone answers to no one, reports to no one, and can burn it all down and rebuild it tomorrow because the only resource he ever needed is the one resource that can never be taken from him, himself. You sit there resenting your zero support, and I understand the pain. But you are resenting the very thing that is forging you into something those supported, subsidized, safety-netted individuals will never be. You are becoming self-contained. You are becoming sovereign. You are becoming the only kind of person that Machiavelli considered truly powerful. A person whose throne rests on no one else's shoulders. But understanding the slavery of support is not enough. You must master something far darker, because every favor, every helping hand, every act of so-called generosity operates on a hidden psychological mechanism that most people never see. It is called psychological debt. And until you understand how it works, you will keep envying the very chains that are destroying the people wearing them. I'm going to show you why the elite secretly envy the man with nothing. But first, you need to see the invisible prison. The second law of absolute power is this. In the economy of human relationships, nothing is free. Nothing. Every act of support, every favor, every resource given to you by another person creates an invisible ledger of psychological debt that silently accumulates until the day payment is demanded. And the payment is always the same. Your obedience, your compliance, your silence when you should speak, and your agreement when you should refuse. Dark psychology has documented this with merciless precision. It is called the reciprocity principle, and it is one of the most powerful manipulation tools in human social dynamics. When someone does something for you, your brain does not simply register gratitude, it registers obligation, a debt, a hook embedded in your psyche that the giver can pull at any time, in any direction, for any reason. And the more they have given, the deeper the hook, and the more control they have over your decisions, your direction, and your identity. This is the law of power that the networked, supported, safety-netted individual never sees. Every investor does not just want a return on their money, they want a return on their influence. Every mentor does not just want your success, they want your loyalty and the ability to say, "I made you." Every family member who funded your dream does not just want repayment, they want the permanent right to remind you that without them, you would be nothing. And the moment you deviate from their expectations, the moment you make a decision that serves you instead of them, the ledger opens and the debt is called. The people who did it with help will spend the rest of their lives paying rent on their success. Now look at your situation. Look at it with the cold, strategic eyes of a Machiavellian tactician. You have zero support. Zero. No investor whispering in your ear about acceptable risk. No family money creating a golden leash around your ambition. No mentor whose ego requires your gratitude. No partner whose emotional needs dictate the pace of your dreams. Your ledger is empty. Your hooks are non-existent. Your psychological debt is zero. Do you understand what that means? It means you are the freest person you know. It means every decision you make belongs entirely to you. Every victory you achieve is uncontaminated by obligation. Every dollar you earn is unchained. Every step forward is yours, purely, absolutely, without asterisk or condition. You owe nothing to no one. And in the dark psychology of power dynamics, a person who owes nothing is a person who can never be leveraged, never be blackmailed, never be controlled through the weaponization of gratitude. Stop crying over the support you did not get. It was the universe forcefully removing your training wheels. It was not punishing you. It was liberating you from the most invisible, most insidious, most universally accepted form of enslavement in human social architecture. The enslavement of owing someone for your own survival. If you fall into the trap of complaining about your lack of support, you surrender all your power. Here is the mental pivot. Every time your mind whispers, "I wish I had help," you must train it to respond, "I am building without debt." Every time resentment surfaces, replace it with this: "I am constructing an empire that no one can claim a share of, because no one contributed a brick." That is not loneliness, that is extreme independence, and extreme independence is the raw material of absolute power. But the mechanics of debt are only half the equation, because your zero support does not just free you from obligation. It activates something far more primal, far more dangerous, far more strategically devastating. It activates the lone wolf doctrine, the psychological operating system that has produced every truly self-made sovereign in human history, and it is the exact reason why manipulators cannot break you. The third law of absolute power is the one that will permanently rewire how you see your own isolation. It is this: the man who walks alone develops capabilities that the man surrounded by support will never, ever acquire. Not because the supported man is less intelligent, but because he is never forced to be more. This is Sigma male psychology, stripped to its core. When you have no safety net, every faculty inside you activates at maximum capacity. Your pattern recognition sharpens because there is no one to warn you about danger. You must see it yourself. Your decision-making accelerates because there is no committee, no board, no partner to consult. You must act alone, and you must act correctly. Your emotional resilience hardens into something almost inhuman because there is no shoulder to cry on, no comforting voice at the end of the day, no one to process your fear for you. You must metabolize your own terror and convert it into fuel. You are forced by the brutal mathematics of survival to become complete. When you build your empire alone, no one holds the keys to your gates but you. Consider the dark psychology of what happens to a mind under zero support. It does what every biological system does under pressure. It adapts, it evolves, it develops redundancies, it becomes anti-fragile. The supported mind, the one with mentors and networks and safety nets, never needs to develop these capabilities because someone else is always providing them. That mind stays soft, dependent, fundamentally brittle underneath the appearance of success. Remove the support and the entire structure collapses, because the structure was never theirs. It was scaffolding. And scaffolding does not become architecture just because someone stood inside it long enough. You, the one with zero support, are not building with scaffolding. You are building with bone, with nerve, with the only material that cannot be repossessed, cannot be recalled, cannot be withdrawn by a fickle investor or a departing partner. You are building with yourself. And that means what you build cannot fall, not because it is inherently superior, but because the architect and the architecture are the same entity. To destroy what you have built, they would have to destroy you. And you, forged in the furnace of having nothing and no one, are not something that can be easily destroyed. Machiavelli observed this principle across every court he studied. The princes who inherited power were the first to lose it. The princes who seized power through their own cunning, their own force, their own singular will, held it until they chose to let it go. Because inherited power creates dependence on the conditions of inheritance. Seized power creates dependence on nothing but the capacity of the one who seized it. Your zero support has placed you in the position of the self-made prince, the one whose power is self-referential, self-sustaining, self-reinforcing, the most dangerous kind of power there is. You are still waiting for someone to recognize your struggle. You are still secretly hoping that someone will see how hard you are working alone and extend a hand. In 2 minutes, I will kill that desire forever. But first, I need you to understand what happens to your energy, your focus, your raw strategic output, when you stop wishing for reinforcements and start weaponizing your solitary position. Watch how your energy instantly multiplies when you deploy the mindset of the next section. The fourth law of absolute power is the most tactically devastating principle you will ever learn, and it is this. A single mind with zero obligations generates more strategic force than a network of 100 minds drowning in mutual dependency. This is not poetry. This is the physics of self-mastery. Consider where your energy goes when you have support. You spend energy managing relationships. You spend energy negotiating expectations. You spend energy performing gratitude, maintaining appearances, attending to the emotional needs of the people who help you so they continue helping you. You spend energy in meetings that could have been decisions. You spend energy seeking consensus when you already know the answer. You spend energy on the politics of collaboration, on the diplomacy of partnership, on the endless, exhausting theater of making other people feel valued so they do not withdraw their contribution. Now consider where your energy goes when you have zero support. All of it, every last photon of cognitive and emotional and creative bandwidth goes directly into your work, into your strategy, into your execution. There is no leakage, no friction, no tax. The entire river of your potential flows in one direction, through one channel, toward one objective, with zero diversion. You are not more talented than the supported person. You are more concentrated. And concentration in the law of power is more lethal than talent will ever be. If you have a backup plan, you have already accepted failure as an option. The man with zero support does not have a backup plan. He has a singular, all-consuming do-or-die commitment to the primary plan. And that level of commitment generates a quality of focus that the safety-netted individual will never produce. Because the safety net does not just catch you when you fall. It whispers to you while you climb. It says, "It is okay if this does not work. You can always go back." And that whisper, that tiny, almost imperceptible permission to fail, dilutes the ferocity of your climb by a factor you cannot imagine until you have experienced what it feels like to climb without one. You have experienced it. You know exactly what I am talking about. That fire in your chest at 3 in the morning when you cannot sleep because the work is not done and there is no one else to do it. That razor-sharp clarity you get when the consequences of failure are total and the responsibility is entirely yours. That almost supernatural focus that descends when there is no noise, no opinions, no collaborative dilution of your vision. That is not stress. That is self-mastery in its most concentrated form. That is the multiplication of force that only extreme independence provides. Machiavellian tactics teach that the prince who commands a small, fiercely loyal army under his direct control is more formidable than the prince who commands a vast coalition of mercenaries with divided loyalties. You are the small army. You are the fiercely loyal force. You are commander and soldier and strategist and scout. And because every role is filled by the same relentless will, your response time is instantaneous, your execution is seamless, and your strategic pivots are invisible to everyone watching. This is why the self-made, zero-support individual moves with a speed and decisiveness that baffles the networked. While they are scheduling meetings to discuss strategy, you have already executed. While they are managing the feelings of their collaborators, you have already pivoted. While they are waiting for approval from the people who funded them, you have already seized the opportunity and moved 3 steps ahead. Your zero support is not your handicap, it is your weapon, and the force it generates is multiplied by the absence of everything that slows other people down. But there is one more law, the 5th and final law that transforms everything you have learned into something permanent, something unbreakable, something that makes you not just powerful, but completely, strategically invisible to anyone who would try to control you. We are about to enter the elimination of leverage. This is where you become a ghost to your enemies. The 5th law of absolute power, the law that seals your transformation from resentful loner into untouchable sovereign, is the most terrifying principle in all of Machiavellian strategy. And it is this: a man with 0 dependencies has 0 vulnerabilities, and a man with 0 vulnerabilities cannot be defeated. He can only be endured. This is where the dark psychology of your situation becomes not just empowering, but lethal. In every power dynamic, every negotiation, every conflict, every act of manipulation, the weapon used against you is always the same: leverage. They threaten to withdraw what you depend on. Your boss controls you because you depend on the paycheck. Your partner controls you because you depend on the emotional validation. Your family controls you because you depend on the approval. Your network controls you because you depend on the access. Remove the dependency and you remove the weapon. Remove every dependency and you become what Machiavelli considered the most dangerous entity in any political system: a sovereign agent with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Machiavelli warned that the man who leans on the strength of others falls the moment they step aside. But here is the inverse, the hidden law within the law that most readers of Machiavelli miss entirely. The man who leans on nothing does not just avoid falling, he becomes impossible to topple, because there is nothing to kick out from under him. There is no leg to sweep, no foundation to crack, no supply line to cut. He is the foundation. He is the supply line. He is the entire infrastructure of his own existence, and you cannot siege a fortress that carries its own water, grows its own food, and answers to no flag but its own. Look at your life right now, with the eyes of a Machiavellian strategist assessing a battlefield. Your 0 support means no employer can threaten you with termination in a way that destroys you, because you have already survived on nothing. No partner can threaten you with abandonment in a way that breaks you, because you have already built a life in the absence of love. No friend can threaten you with exclusion in a way that isolates you further, because you are already operating from the deepest solitude, and you have learned it is not a punishment but a privilege. No manipulator, no narcissist, no covert controller in your life has a single card left to play against you, because you have already experienced the very worst they can threaten. And you are still here, still building, still moving, still dangerous. This is the exact reason why manipulators cannot break you. Listen closely. The entire architecture of social manipulation, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, emotional blackmail, the silent treatment, triangulation, every tool in the dark psychology arsenal of control relies on one fundamental prerequisite. The target must need something from the manipulator. If the target needs nothing, the manipulator has no weapon. They are firing blanks at a fortress, and the fortress does not even notice. You are that fortress, not because you chose to be, but because life, in its brutal, unforgiving wisdom, forced you to become self-contained before anyone could install their hooks. Your zero support did not just make you independent, it made you immune. Immune to leverage, immune to manipulation, immune to the 1,000 small surrenders that people with support systems make every day without realizing they are trading their sovereignty for comfort. The people who did it with help are vulnerable in ways they cannot see. Pull the investor and the business crumbles. Remove the partner and the confidence collapses. Disconnect the network and the influence evaporates. Every pillar of their success is also a pressure point. And pressure points in the law of power are invitations for defeat. You have no pressure points. You have no pillars that can be removed. Everything you have built stands on the only ground that cannot shift. Your own will, your own discipline, your own unrelenting refusal to stop when every reasonable person would have quit. That is not disadvantage. That is extreme independence forged into an architecture so resilient, so internally complete, that attacking it is not just difficult, it is pointless. At the end of this video, I promised you a framework to look at your solitary struggle and smile. Here it is. Every morning you wake up and fight alone, you are depositing into an account that no one can access but you. Every night you go to sleep with no one to comfort you. You are strengthening a nervous system that will never need external regulation. Every obstacle you overcome without a phone call, without a favor, without a hand reaching down, you are proving to the deepest layers of your own psyche that you are sufficient, complete, whole. And that proof, that bone-deep cellular knowledge that you can survive anything because you have already survived everything alone, is the one asset on this earth that cannot be bought, borrowed, inherited, or stolen. It can only be forged. And it is being forged in you right now, in this moment, in this fire, whether you recognize it or not. You came into this video resenting your isolation, resenting the empty room, resenting the silence where support should have been. You watched others succeed on borrowed foundations, and you wondered why the universe placed you at the bottom with nothing and no one. Now you know. It did not place you at the bottom. It placed you at the forge. The one place where the raw material of a sovereign mind is heated beyond recognition, hammered beyond tolerance, and cooled into something so hard, so sharp, so dangerously self-sufficient that the very people who ignored you will one day study you, trying to understand how you did it, and they will never replicate it, because they will never replicate the one ingredient that made you, having absolutely nothing and refusing to let it stop you. The 5 laws of absolute power are now yours. The slavery of support revealed that every safety net is a leash. The debt of dependence showed you that every favor is an invoice. The lone wolf doctrine proved that zero support forces the evolution that makes you complete. The multiplication of force demonstrated that your undivided energy is more lethal than any network. And the elimination of leverage confirmed that having nothing to lose makes you impossible to control. 5 laws, 5 weapons, forged in the very isolation you were taught to be ashamed of. You are not disadvantaged. You are unencumbered. You are not alone. You are sovereign. You are not unsupported. You are unchained. Here is your final challenge, and I will deliver it without softness. Stop mourning the support you never received. Stop replaying the fantasy of what your life would have been if someone, anyone, had believed in you early enough. That fantasy is a trap. It is the last manipulation, the final lie designed to keep you looking backward at what you lacked instead of forward at what you were becoming. The support was never coming, and that is the most powerful thing that ever happened to you, because it forced you to find in yourself what others find in the crowd. And what you found there, in the silence, in the struggle, in the forge of absolute solitude, is something the crowd can never produce. A mind that answers to no one, a will that bends for nothing, a foundation that cannot be shaken because it was never built on anything that could be taken away. Let the resentment go. Not because they deserve forgiveness, but because resentment is the last thread connecting you to the world that failed you, and you need both hands free to build the world that replaces it. If this video reached into the part of your mind that has been quietly burning with the knowledge that you were always meant to do this alone, I want you to prove it to yourself right now. Type "need no one" in the comments below. Not for me, for you. Because the moment you type it, the moment you declare it publicly, you are drawing a line in the sand between the version of you that begged for support and the version of you that became the support. Type it. Mean it. Let it be the last time you ever apologize for your independence. Now hear me clearly. If this is the first time you have found this space, you need to understand what you are standing inside of. This is not a channel that tells you everything will be okay. This is not a place for comfort. This is the only space on this platform that treats your intelligence with the respect it deserves and hands you the psychological weaponry that the world deliberately hid from you. Every video here is a law of power. Every concept is a tool of self-mastery. Every minute you spend here is a minute you are investing in the most dangerous version of yourself, the version that does not need permission, does not need validation, and does not need a single other human being to become exactly what they said you could not become alone. If that is the mind you are building, subscribe. Not because I'm asking, because your future self is demanding it. Join the silent strategists who are building empires in the dark, owing nothing to no one, answering to nothing but their own vision. Hit subscribe. This is where lone wolves become architects, and whatever you do, do not stop now. The video on your screen was placed there with precision. It contains a principle of dark psychology so directly connected to what you just learned that ignoring it would be like forging a sword and then leaving it on the ground. Click it, watch it, let it complete what this video started. Because the architecture is not finished. There is one more wall to raise, one more weapon to sharpen, and it is waiting for you right now. I will see you there. See what others miss. Know what others fear. Become who others can't.